Your problem card is the Four of Goldfish. Now it's worth noting that the goldfish did not put themselves into the bowl. The bowl was created by people who want to appreciate the things the goldfish can offer without getting their carpets all wet. But it doesn't look like the goldfish have a lot of room to move, huh? So the short-term solution is to make yourself aware of the cold reality in that situation. And not just the part where masking is for the benefit of others at the expense of your own, but also the part where you didn't create that need in the first place, and that need doesn't serve you. Speaking of what serves each of us, let's look at the 10 of fruits in the long-term slot. Now, these are all sweet, delicious fruits, and people might like one more than they like another. But if you try to combine them all into one big fruit salad, you're going to please nobody. The lesson here is that no approach is universal. Once you accept that not everybody will enjoy you, you'll be happy with the right people enjoying you. And you're one of the right people. The Sesamerot has spoken. The problem card is Bert and Ernie putting the rectangles in the rectangles box. Ernie is doing what both the environment and peer pressure are expecting him to do. So why is this in the problem card slot? Probably because everybody tells us we need money, and our environment is set up around the exchange of money, but we're not given much opportunity to explore the surrounding world for context. So let's look to the hot card in the short-term slot. Given the context of a hot sun, Grover needs some water. I believe this is a sign that our inner heat, or passion, is a far clearer indicator of what it is we personally need and want. Long-term solution card, 18 of carrots. An abundance of renewable nourishment. Now bear in mind in this reading that the carrots represent the thing that you're actually passionate about. So what's the best way to get a bunch of carrots? The heat of passion in the water of sustenance, or shuffling around the same rectangles as everyone else? You don't need the world, you just need enough. The Sesamerot has spoken. The problem slot is occupied by the lemonade card. I believe this is a sign that you recognize the value of your passions to the degree where you would expect to see a return on your investment. And if that's the case, then yeah, you should, because there is zero ROI on the alternative. But if you're going to do it right, and that brings us to the 12 doodlebugs. A common mistake we make when pursuing our passions is thinking we have to do them alone. Seek out the counsel of your more successful peers. You can mitigate failure by emulating the success of others. Plus, it's just nice to have a bunch of like-minded people to discuss your passions with. In the long-term slot is Snuffleupagus wearing socks. Now, Snuffy doesn't wear shoes, but Snuffy also likes to be helpful. And with 4 feet instead of 2, Snuffy is the best person to demonstrate socks on a children's flashcard about socks. The key to success is to find your niche and play to your strengths. The Sesamerot has spoken. The problem is the two-headed monster holding a jar. You know what I just learned? The two-headed monster doesn't actually have a name. Actually look that up. Now, I never would have thought to look that up until I drew this card. So it seems that opening this jar opened up an opportunity for me to educate myself. And I suspect that you coming clean is what did the same thing for your parents. So they got the jar open, but their lack of experience is preventing them from knowing exactly what to put in the jar. This is where the long-term slot comes in, the X-ray card. An X-ray is a diagnostic tool used by doctors to reveal everything possible about an injury, and then use that in-depth knowledge to come up with a treatment plan. It could very well be that your parents are trying to do right by you, they just don't know what right is. So they're throwing as much good as they can at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. And now that you've come clean that there is a problem, fill their newly open mind with the information they need to make comprehensive solutions. The Sesamerot has spoken. Your problem card is the vacuum. On its surface, a sign that you're looking for a fresh, clean start. But as a problem card, it's also a reminder that anything we suck up into the vacuum is basically gone forever. I believe this is advice to be aware of everything you could lose, not just your job. You know, do a little spot check before you run the vacuum, right? The good news is that the short-term slot is the green rhombus, the sign of a positive change of perspective. I believe this is a sign that you will indeed embrace the educational aspects of this opportunity. Now what about that pie in the long-term slot? Now it's easy to say, oh, pie is a sweet, delicious treat, must be a sign of a reward. But I just noticed something about this card. I have no idea what kind of pie that is. Could be a sweet, delicious apple pie. Could be a chicken pot pie, savory, unexpected, but not unwelcome. It could even have rhubarb in it, and I do not like rhubarb. So I guess the message here is be clear on what the filling is before you start ordering drinks. The Sesamerot has spoken. The Pentagon is a sign of mysteries and unknowns, with the black Pentagon also representing government. So putting it lightly, I feel this is a sign that you've got a big problem on your hands. But to what extent, we're not sure. So let's look to the lemonade card. Now, do you suppose Zoe made lemonade because she thought it would be a nice, refreshing thing to have on a sunny day? Or because she saw it as a lucrative money-making opportunity? And if Zoe just wants everyone to have a nice drink, how helpful would it be for me to think she's just trying to make money and be like, no, you should be charging $1 a glass? And would a person with that philosophy even have the ability to enjoy Zoe's lemonade in the spirit in which she chose to give it? Or for that matter, without even knowing or caring what Zoe's motivations are? So for clarification, let's look to the far card. I believe you need to solve the mystery of can you truly distance yourself from those differences in opinion? Meditate on it and be honest with yourself, because the answer to that question is your answer. The Sesamerot has spoken. I think we have our answer. The problem card is the red triangle, and I choose to believe that this is because the Sesamerot has been chomping at the bit to answer this question. And it is saying, fight the duck. But what's interesting is that the long-term solution is the eggs. Now, since the root of the problem is one of logic, albeit heated logic, I believe this is a call to recontextualize what we mean by fight. Your question has sort of left that aspect wide open. So the fight shouldn't be one of those 10 paces turn and draw at high noon kind of affairs. Plus, we're looking for something where you're going to get eggs at the end of it. So this should be one of those kind of fights where everybody respects each other at the end. You know, like Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. Or Zagreus and Thanatos in that really great game Hades. The point is, you don't want eggs from 100 duck-sized horses. Those are not eggs. But duck eggs are delicious, and imagine really big ones. Enjoy your lifetime supply of omelets. The Sesamerot has spoken. I believe the problem card and the short-term card are showing us a sign of recontextualization. Both contain green, a sign of money. Now, alligators are a powerful and intimidating force within their own ecosystem. But this is the amazing Mumford, not Steve Irwin. This is a problem card. I think the problem here is he just wants to have the alligator so he can show it off. Alligators are not good pets. Consider instead Oscar holding the orange, where instead the green thing is a stigmatized but otherwise important part of its ecosystem, and it's helping us get the things that nourish and sustain us. First step is don't value money for how cool it makes you look. Instead, understand how its value can get you the things you need. Let's look to the 14 of bottle caps, long-term solution. Somebody drinks 14 sodas. They throw away the bottles, they throw away the caps. What do they have to show for that experience? I believe this is a sign to find value in everything you possess. Bottles and caps can be recycled or used for arts and crafts. There's even a Fallout reference in there. Learn to value value. The Sesamerot has spoken. I'm actually going to start this with the short-term solution card, the green oval. What we see here is a perpetual cycle, positive but imperfect. Some parts are longer than others, some parts are easier to draw than others, but it's a cycle and it's working as designed. I believe the three of webs and the mail card are calling for a change in approach. Both are acknowledgments that love are a thing that comes to you. However, when a spider makes a spider web, they're doing so with a predatory mindset. When a spider catches a fly, all they care about is how does the fly meet their needs, regardless of what will make the fly happy. By contrast, mail, which is another way in which we receive the things we want and need, is more of a mutual correspondence. Sometimes it's junk, sometimes it's bills, and sometimes it's a really nice letter or a little gift. So what's the best way to handle this? Well, we sort through our mail, we find the nice letters and the gifts, and then we send those people thank you notes and perpetuate a cycle of good mail. In short, keep your mailbox open. The Sesamerot has spoken. The problem card is the 13th of macarons. That's a lot of containers of air. And I think this is a problem card to demonstrate that you've done this frequently. The good news is your short-term solution card is Super Grover flying high. Super Grover does what he does because it is his honor and his duty. Duty. But he also only lands if there's actually a problem to solve. I believe this is a sign that your dog is aware of it, but it's not a problem for him. He's just happy to help. Which leads us to the long-term solution card, the full cookie jar. A sign that your doggo does deserve recognition for these services. So hey, the next time you're curling nose hairs in a 10-yard radius, you can take comfort in knowing that your puppa is happy to take one for the team. But even a job we love is still a job. So do the right thing and pay up. The Sesamerot has spoken. I'm seeing an interesting relationship between the problem and short-term solution cards. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction is yes, you absolutely should. Why stay in a relationship you don't want to be in? But see, here's the thing. In order to perform the magic, the rabbit usually comes out of the hat. There's a rabbit, there's a hat, you pull the rabbit out of the hat. That's how the trick works. I believe this is a sign that the question is actually more difficult to answer than what face value would suggest. So the real question is, why isn't this an easy yes to give? Perhaps the 7 of porridges in the long-term slot can give us a hint. Optimistically, a sign of baseline sustenance in times of need. But it could also be a sign that you're sick of the same boring routine 7 days a week. But these are my interpretations. Yours are more important. One way or another, you and your SO need to have an important discussion. And I recommend that you meditate on what the 7 of porridges means to you before discussing the potential future of this magic act. The Sesamerot has spoken. Hexagons are a symbol of life, and orange is a color of turmoil. So an appropriate problem card for having a life crisis. You feel in dehumanization at a point when you're having one of your most human experiences. Let's look to the 2 of tutus in the short-term slot. As a flash card for children, it performs its function. But if you look deeper, there's a little whimsy to it. It's tutus, and there's 2 of them. 2 tutus. Perhaps a sign to find the joy, fun, and whimsy in the things that you must do. I feel there's a more comforting message in the long-term slot, the vacuum. This is a tool we use to clean and maintain our personal space. Dust is a leftover accumulation of the things that were. We vacuum up these remnants of the past. In order to breathe free and be healthy in the present, it is natural to mourn the loss of who you were. But if you clean away the past, you may just enjoy who you are. Love and blessings. The Sesamerot has spoken. I have a feeling the Sesamerot feels very strongly about this one. That even if this was your first reading, you probably already know the answer. But let's break it down. The problem card is the umpire. And the long-term solution is Elmo playing with a soccer ball, which has a hexagon in it, which is a sign of life. Both of which are bookending the red triangle, the sign of passionate logic. And they're both signs of athletic competition. Put that all together, and I arrive at this. Brock, the leader of the first gym, his Pokemon are vulnerable to water and grass. The second gym leader, Misty, well, her Pokemon are vulnerable to grass. Bulbasaur has advantage in 2 gyms. Squirtle has advantage in 1 gym, meaning that of the 3 starters, Charmander provides the greatest challenge. And it is challenge and overcoming the odds which makes one a better competitor in athletic sports. So if you want to be the very best, start with Charmander. The Sesamerot has spoken. The white square in the problem space suggests that it is societal norms that are making this decision difficult for you, and that what you truly seek is an ideal environment free from risk. But here's the thing, and we're going to look ahead to the long-term card first to kind of make this point. When we refine our perspective, we see that no path is truly without risk. So the goal is not to be risk-averse, but risk-aware, and to compare those risks with the rewards we may earn. Now let's look to Grover in the short-term slot playing the guitar. I like to think that we'd all love to be rock stars. And it may blow your mind to notice, but that's actually a job people can have. And even that ideal job has a large number of risks you need to take on. But the folks that chose to take on those risks did so because of the rewards. And the risks were mitigated by the fact that they was following their passions. Would you rather shoot for a little passion or a whole lot of nothing? Pick your poison. The Sesamerot has spoken. You know who I bet has a unique perspective on life? The 2-headed monster. But right now it just looks like they're trying to share an empty jaw. I believe the jaw represents unfulfilled potential. The mere desire to share is not enough. You need to know what you're sharing and why. For perspective, let's look to the short-term slot. Snuffy doesn't wear shoes, so why is Snuffy wearing socks? Well, Snuffy's a quadruped, and this is a children's flashcard for demonstrating what socks are. Snuffy is using something unique about him to help others, regardless of how much he actually needs to. I believe this is a sign to be clear on who your poetry speaks to, and instead of just casting your poetry to the winds, focus on the methods that get your poetry into their hands. Then there's the long-term slot, the mail card, a reminder to be open to all communications and correspondences. Be prepared to receive praise and criticism. If you're doing it for the right reasons, none of it should bug you. Good luck. The Sesamerot has spoken. The guitar in the problem card slot tells an interesting tale. Music is a craft of passion. Passion often leads to strong feelings and broken guitars. Failure is a great teacher, but if you keep breaking your equipment, the lessons become expensive. So let's look to the gray pentagon in the short-term slot. A sign of intriguing mysteries. Perhaps a sign to remind yourself why you're putting yourself through this in the first place. There's no shame or judgment in just watching a playthrough or looking it up on a wiki. If all you want's the law, why snap your controllers over that? Now, I'm gonna level with you. I've been thinking about what the wet card means for a while, and I'm having a hard time coming up with anything. I'm gonna draw a clarification card. Well, that's a bit on the nose, no pun intended. Okay, well, I suppose the common element is they both got a mop in them. They're both scrubbing the floor with the... Wait a minute. Scrub. I believe the Sesamerot is saying, get good, scrub. Smart ass. Your problem card is the ladder. This is a tool you use to elevate yourself. And I believe it's a problem card because it represents your understanding of the situation. As in, well, there's only one safe way to climb a ladder. Which, devoid of context, is true. But let's look to the green rhombus in the short-term slot. The rhombus often invites us to recontextualize the situation. Instead of thinking of things in the rigid terms of finance, try the more broad term, value. You can receive what you value by trading the things that others value. Let's look to the long-term card, the two of tutus. As I've reflected in the past, this is probably my favorite card because it's a pun. Get it? Tutus. Now you know the best part? Somebody got paid to make this joke. Or more to the point, somebody valued what this artist had to provide. Passion is the map to direct you where you want to go, but understand the economy of value, and the universe will put the gas in your tank. The Sesamerot has spoken. The Seven of Porges suggests that you're doing this because you feel you have to. Now, it might be Big Bear's favorite treat, but if you had a choice between a bowl of honeycomb, an egg McMuffin, and a bowl of porridge, well, I think you get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, this pairs very well with the yo-yo in the short-term slot. A recognition that by continuing your education, you are setting yourself up for a routine. A routine which you yourself are going to be expected to perpetuate. So search within yourself and ask yourself truly and honestly, do you foresee any way in which your enthusiasm for this trade is going to grow? Well, let's look to the mail card in the long-term slot. You've invested time and money into this trade. Leaving it would be a risk. The best way to mitigate that risk is correspondence. Reach out to the people you look up to. Ask them what makes them love what they do, and if they are enjoying the success they've gotten from doing it. Meditate on these answers and plan accordingly. The Sesamerot has spoken. The watch card in the problem slot tells me that the Sesamerot has chosen to answer this question chronologically. However, what's interesting is that in my draw, the bats came before the birds. Now, the first bats appeared roughly 50 million years ago, whereas the first birds, as we understand them, appeared roughly 60 to 65 million years ago. So chronologically speaking, the birds came first. Why are they last? Perhaps the transition from 8 to 6 is to show a sign of diminishing value in this measurement method. And that may in fact be why the watch is in the problem slot. Because if we address this as purely chronologically, the concept of eggs predates the concept of either of these creatures. So pragmatic straight-laced chronology would say that the egg came first. But if we're not being a smartass, then we know that what we're asking is, what came first, a chicken or a chicken egg? And the first creature to be recognized as a chicken emerged from a non-chicken egg. Ergo, chicken. Sesamerot spoken. The black pentagon has appeared in the problem slot. Now, while this is a sign of deep mysteries, it can also be a sign of government or authority, which is one of the things deer can symbolize in Eastern philosophy. But I think we can rule that out because this is a problem card. Actually, I don't even know why I brought it up. So let's look to the X-ray card in the short-term slot. Often a sign that we need to look within. See, many cultures assign different symbolism to the meaning of the deer, but typically when the universe is sending you a message, it's doing so in a language it believes you will understand. My suggestion would be to have you and your boyfriend sit down and write down all the things you think about when you think deer, compare your notes, and render it down from there. Now, the eggs in the long-term slot are an interesting sign to say the least. An egg is the very symbol of the beginning of the life process. And you've been seeing this symbol of the two deer at the beginning of every one of your steps in your relationship. So while the exact meaning is still a bit of a mystery, I think this is a positive sign. The Sesamerot has spoken.